I almost thought you were over there.
I'd like you to run over importing McMaster cards.
Sure.
Do you want to do that?
I can do that.
I don't want to do that.
I'm trying to work on getting the fusion drive so that everyone can see everything.
That guy just got the last game. That's someone.
All right, yeah, everybody, welcome to week 5 of CAD training. Very exciting. This is again just our little disclaimer at the beginning. If you can't make a lesson, how difficult are they? What you should bring here. It's all the same every week. Just bring your laptop if you can. Bring a mouse if you can. It started off kind of easy, and now we're ramping it up. And if you can't make a session, we post all the slideshows and videos each week, going over, detailing what exactly it is that we're doing today. So yeah, there's that. This week, we're getting into more specialty tools beyond what we've just been kind of explaining to you. Up to this point, everything that we've taught you is pretty much the foundation for your CAD skills. Everything after this is going to be kind of building on that foundation. And so with that, we'll also be getting into you guys working on some design parts today. Yeah, so also if you're not in our Slack, you should join our Slack. And then also this is the mid-semester survey from ASME. So if you could all quickly scan this one. It should be different than the one you've already scanned. It's more important. You can also come grab it here if you need. All right, so to start us off today, we're going to be talking about construction planes. So first of all, if you remember, construction lines when you're sketching are those little like orange dashed lines that you can draw. They won't make planes or shapes or anything, but they're really helpful in helping you get snap points for your actual lines or for other stuff like that. Construction planes kind of act very similarly. Basically what they can be used for is they are really helpful for drawing off of things that are not on the ground or on a pre-existing plane from a part or just what Fusion gives you. So first we'll just start off by creating a sketch. Just on the ground plane is fine. And again, you click Create Sketch and then you select the one of those orange planes. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to create a 2-point rectangle. It doesn't really matter the size of it, just click one point, click another, and now you'll notice you have a blue shape here, and that's going to tell you that your sketch is selectable for a plane, which is really important for today. So once you have something that kind of looks like this on your screen, you can just go ahead and hit Finish Sketch. So typically, we've been working in the Create tab, as well as the Modify tab on the top of your toolbar. Today, we're going to be looking at the Construct tab, specifically Offset Plane. Personally, I use almost every single one of these when I'm making really large, intricate Fusion parts. So a lot of them are really important, but for today we're just really going to be going over offset plane because it, well, you'll see. So offset plane, you'll select that. So now that I've selected, I can select the ground plane. I can select any of the regular just fusion orbit planes, or I can even select the rectangle that we just made. So we're going to select the rectangle. And kind of like an extrusion, now that it's highlighted in blue and there's an arrow up. But instead of extruding, you can actually take this plane and you can bring it above or below the pre-existing planes. And this is really helpful if you have, really for a lot of things, but especially if you haven't necessarily started creating a lot of parts and you need more faces above you. That's really important, but it's going to be even more important for something called lofting, which is what we're going to go over mostly today. So once you're satisfied with the height, you can hit OK. And if you want, you can do it again. You can hit construct. My offset plane is just this only one that's listed for me above the construct drop down, but again, you can find it in that drop down. You'll select that. You can even select your pre-existing plane that you already have, and you can bring it up again. And now I have 3 planes, 3 different heights. So it's very, very helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw on one of these upper planes. So I'm just going to draw on this bottom plane, this middle plane right now. So I'll go to Create Sketch, and you'll see that I will be able to now select that orange plane for drawing, for sketching. Once I select, I am this way. If you have multiple planes like I do and this orange space kind of bugs you, you can get rid of that tint. So I can just go over to my, my bar on this left-hand side and hit the drop-down arrow from Construction. And you'll see that one of these has a little eyeball that's got a line through it, and one of them doesn't. If I click on the one that doesn't have a line through it, it will hide that construction plane for me. Anytime I want any of these planes revisible for me, I can just select those on, and it will do that for you. But for right now, I don't need it. I'm already drawing on it. I don't want to see it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another rectangle, but this time I want to make sure to make my rectangle not identical to the one that I currently have. That means it could be bigger, it could be smaller, it doesn't really matter, just don't make it the exact same as it was. So I'm just going to, again, find random snap points and do it. So I have my 2-point rectangle kind of in the center of this rectangle. For this today, I recommend you do center everything on the origin if you didn't already. It's just going to make your life easier. And if you have issues, it's probably going to be the first fix. When you're satisfied with the rectangle you've drawn, you can hit Finish Sketch. And you'll see that now, although prospectively at first you might have thought that those 2 rectangles were on the same plane, you can now tell that one of the rectangles is about 80 millimeters above the other rectangle. So what we're going to do is now we're going to do a loft. And a loft can be a very, very helpful create tool that is used a lot for a lot of different parts, and we're going to get into it a little bit more today. So first, in the create menu, for me it's just right there on my toolbar. It is a blue looking square with a white circle on top, but again, you can find it under the drop down. So you find the words Loft. So you'll go ahead and you'll select that. And you'll notice that the origin is now popped up again, so you can start selecting planes is the point. So let's first make sure that we select the bottom rectangle that we drew earlier. And now that's highlighted in blue, and you'll see that it shows up as Profile 1. And now we'll select the second rectangle, and that will be Profile 2. Now automatically, as soon as I click that second plane, you'll see that Fusion has taken those 2 rectangles that we've drawn, and they have basically extruded them out together to form a intersecting body. So instead of it being a rectangle of the original rectangle's width or the second rectangle's width, it is a sloped extrusion, basically. but you'll notice there are some other features here, specifically down here, rails. So we're going to get into rails today as well. So to understand what rails are basically are the path that your loft will take to make its final form. In this case, you didn't provide any rails, so Fusion just took the quickest, easiest path, which is the linear path. So from point A to point B, it just draws a line and it fills in the rest. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a path that isn't linear, and it's going to make that loft for us with this path. If that makes sense. So you can hit OK, or you can hit cancel if you haven't already, but I'm just going to hit cancel because you're going to have to start this loft over anyways. So again, you're going to want to have a plane here and a plane there, one above the other. So the first step to create these rails is we're going to create sketch, and we are going to select this bisecting plane here. So it is not the ground plane, it is going to be one of the vertical planes. So we'll select that, and you'll see that perspectively our rectangular planes now look like straight lines. So the first thing that we're going to do is under the Create tool, we're going to use one of my favorite sketching tools, the Project tool. So you go down to Create and scroll all the way down until you see Project, and you will select Project. Now before you start clicking things, this is going to be one of those times where that view cube is really important, or if you have a mouse with a scroll bar, you're going to change your perspective so you can see your sketches three-dimensionally. And you are going to project the following four edges. All right, you're going to want the two outside edges of your top plane and the two outside edges, of your bottom plane. Once you have selected all of these lines, you just go ahead and hit OK. And you can go back and change your perspective to the sketching perspective by clicking on the associated face of your view cube. For me, it's the back face, so I'll just click on back. If that wasn't yours, you can just mess with the view cube with the arrows and the corners until you get into the proper orientation. But you'll notice in this perspective, the projection that we just made projects as dots, which is going to be really important. So the first thing that we're going to do this is we're also going to introduce another very important tool, which is the mirror tool. All right. But first, before we get there, we're going to click on Controlled Point Spline. Okay, so that should be under your Create. Under Spline, you should be able to find a Control Point Spline. Yeah, sure. So just to go over that, the Project tool took the geometry from another perspective that we had previously made, and it projected it in the 2D form on our current sketch plane. So here we selected four edges, but in the 2D perspective that we have, this is just a line. So those edges here just show up as points because they are perpendicular to our viewpoint, so they're coming in and out of the page. So you don't see them as edges, but you see them as individual points, which will be important for us because then we'll be able to snap our lines to those points, if that makes sense. And I'm sorry, we're actually going to use Fit Point Spline, not Control Point Spline. That's my fault. So once you've selected Fit Point, you're going to select one of the purple dots that you should have on your screen. And you should select the second purple dot that it's adjacent to vertically. Once you select that, you'll notice as you drag away, the line does not remain linear before you exit out of it. And that's because this isn't a regular line. This is a spline line. So you can use this to create free curves, basically. But we are just going to use, so if we were to add a third point, it would change the curve of this line. But because we just have only selected 2 points, it's going to give us the view of a straight line. So when you're satisfied that you've only selected 2 points and have a straight line, which currently for me will show green when I'm not hovering over it, I'll go ahead to the top right and I will hit select. So now we have this line here, and you'll notice that there are 4 green dots, and those are going to be really important. But before we start messing with that, like I said, we are going to show you a bit about the mirror tool. So the mirror tool is also in the Create tab menu. It looks like a blue triangle next to a gray triangle. And it is what we're going to be using right now. But first, so the way mirror works is you need a mirroring axis. This is very similar to the Revolve Tool in 3 dimensions, where you create a sketch and then you select an axis and then you can revolve it around that axis. The mirror tool works the same way, except in a sketch you can select an axis and everything that you have on one side of it will then mirror to the other. So let's go ahead and create a line. And we'll put this line directly in the middle of these 2 purple points here. Because I drew mine centered on the origin, I can just select the origin and draw straight up. You'll notice as I'm drawing, it'll tell me that I'm perpendicular with this little blue perpendicular constraint symbol, which we went over last week. This line does not have to bisect anything. It doesn't have to connect on anything. It just has to be present in the middle of your drawing. So I'm just going to select a random spot in the middle here. And you'll notice that it's not connecting my 2 planes or anything like that. It's just a straight line in the middle of my page. So I will go to the mirror tool. I will select that. And I will select the spline line that we created previously. And you'll notice now that next to objects it says 1 selected. Now you'll go down right below it and it says mirror line. You'll go ahead and click on that. So now that word select is in blue. And you'll select that middle line that we just drew. Once selected, you'll notice that the before we've hit OK, you've got a in kind of like a blackish gray color preview of what your mirror will look like, which is very helpful. And so once you're satisfied that that is connecting to both of your purple dots, you can just hit OK. So the way the mirror tool works is if you do something while you still have this mirroring line here, if I were to do something to this line, change its shape in some way, that same change will occur to its mirrored self. If I don't want that to happen, I can just select this middle line here and I can delete that, and then that will remove that connected constraint between them. But currently right now, I'd prefer to have that, that constraint. Cool. So, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab this top green dot on this top line here. What's going to happen is if you grab that green dot and you try to drag it to the right so that it's vertical, parallel with the vertical axis, it is going to bend the spline line that you have. And like I said, as you try to do that, on one side, it will mirror that on the other for you, which was the purpose of mirroring today, because it just saves you a little bit of time in some of these edits. So I've let go and it's kept the bend. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the bottom of these little dots, and I can grab that one and bend it too. So now we've kind of given a bit of a bent shape that's connecting our 2 planes together. You can even look at your view cube and see perspectively that we do have these bent lines and they are connecting to your 2 planes. The project tool that we used earlier was the purpose of that was to make sure that when we were drawing these lines, we were actually connecting these two planes through their bisecting plane, which is going to be very important for the loft that we're going to be doing. So once you're satisfied that both of these lines look the same, you can hit Finish Sketch. And you'll see those green dots have now disappeared, and you have these two curved lines that are connecting your loft. So now, to complete the loft, you'll go to the Loft tool, English, and you will select the two planes that we've created for you previously. And you see, currently it thinks that I have 3 planes selected, which is just not the case. That might happen to you if once you immediately come out of a sketch. That's okay. It's not a big deal. The little X down here, if you just hit that a few times, you will remove all of the planes that it thinks that you've selected, and then you can select again. So again, I will select the bottom plane and the top plane. And you'll see, just like before, it has done the linear path for me, just a straight line to connect the two planes, because we have not provided rails. But we have provided rails, so we will select the mouse arrow next to the word rails. And now you'll see that we're able to select any of these sketched lines here. So we'll go ahead and select this first curved line. And you'll notice that when you select just the one rail, the bend of that shape is on the right side, and it is similar on the left side. So instead of bending in, like our mirror has done, it is now bending one in and one is out. So to make them symmetric, you can select, still with the rails being selected here, you can select a second rail line, and now your loft has a mirrored rail path. Once you're satisfied, you can select OK. And once Fusion loads, you can kind of admire the curved path that your loft has taken. This is really helpful if you want sometimes more like a cleaner look in your lofts, or if you need something to have more of a curved bend to it. You can measure those arcs, you can do splines, you can do circles, and cut out what you don't need. So very, very helpful. Are there any immediate questions or concerns with this? Yeah.
So if I wanted the edges to also follow the rail, because I see the edges are further out on the actual rail, is there a way to do that?
These?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to want this path, because again, what we did was we created a rail here right in the middle of this plane, and so it kind of bends concave-like. So if you wanted to have more, you can add more rails. So we drew that right there on the center plane. If you wanted to have a rail that connected the edges, you could draw on the other center plane here. And that way you could get another perspective and add rails on the other side. Or even, so let's see. So I can do construct an offset plane. And I can select one of these edge planes here. And I can offset it to a certain position, let's say right here. Start sketching on this one. And now I'm on this position. And you can start kind of creating those curves here and seeing, kind of messing around and seeing if you can get that shape that you really desire. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, cool. So from there, again, everything that we just went over is in the slideshows that we send all of you. So instructions on how to do everything we just did already right here. And so now we're just going to be getting into the practice parts. So practice parts look like this. They are shapes that we have already designed for you or had designed for you. And they come with sketches associated with them with all of their measurements. And this one, as you can see, is in millimeters. It provides for you the diameter of this circle, the radius of this arc, these heights, and basically based off of this sketch and how you know it's supposed to look from this image, you will do your best to recreate it. And we have multiple parts for you to choose from. Our goal is for the next lesson or two is that you get through all of them and have them looking as similar to these, if not identical, as you can. This is another practice part. This one, in my opinion, is much more difficult, believe it or not, than the first one. Last semester, we had a lot of students having a lot of issues getting that curve line down here. So kind of be aware of that and making sure that everything remains the proper full length that it is and not making it longer or shorter than it is. We have a chess piece. This one, its sole, it only took two spots on the timeline, a sketch of half of its profile, followed by a revolve. So you should be able to do this. It is doable in 2 moves. Little chess lingo for you. So if you can get it in 2, that would be ideal. If not, that's all right. But the goal for this one is to shoot for 2. And then as well, we have this on this PowerPoint. We have kind of like an overview of a lot of these tools and how to use them. So the Revolve Tool to help you if you forgot how to use that, as well as some others as you'll see in a minute. But here is the paper clip, which is probably a little more difficult than you'd think. I'd like to see you guys try this one. It's all the dimensions for you are right there. And then this goes over the sweep tool, as we went over a few weeks ago. How to draw a sketch, sweep again. So yeah, so just if you have any questions or issues while you work on these for the rest of the time, we'll be walking around. We'll be freezing, at least for today, right now, we'll be freezing the screen. Can we freeze?
Yeah, we fixed it.
You
Don't
fixed
ask
it?
how.
Okay.
We fixed it.
So we'll be freezing one of these screens there. Cool. One of these there. If you guys are if one side of the room is more interested in one than the other, we can switch that, or you guys can move locations. Or you can take a picture if you want. What were you saying?
Yeah.
Cool.
When I took a fusion class my sophomore year, we had these practice